So I'd planned to make a much longer video about this camera, the Sony RX1R Mark III, because I know it's a popular topic right now. And I took it with me to Ireland and took shots like this. On my vacation, we went from Dublin to small cities like Glendalough, Kilkenny, Kilcarney, and Blarney. We also went to the Waterford factory in Waterford, Ireland, and made it all the way to the west coast in Galway and Galway Bay, which is my favorite spot. Of course, we hit the Dingle Peninsula and the Cliffs of Moher. We made quite a circle in a week. And the Sony RX1R Mark III was my constant companion during the trip. Those shots kind of say it all, you know? This is a great little camera. It's an engineering marvel that Sony was able to get a 61 megapixel full frame sensor into a camera of this size. This is closer in size to a Ricoh GR3 or GR4 camera than like a Fuji X100VI or like a Q3. I don't have either one of those here, but like you can compare it to my Fujifilm GFX100 RF, and you can see how much smaller it is. Like, the RF does not fit in the palm of my hand at all, whereas the Sony easily and gladly fits in the palm of my hand. So, in case you've been under a rock, I'll just go through the specs really quick. Zeiss created f2 lens, 35mm on the front of the RX1R Mark III. It has a leaf shutter. 61 megapixel sensor, no flippy screen, teeny tiny EVF, one card slot, tiny battery. Oh, and there's a macro mode on the lens. That kind of covers it. In general, the camera is teeny tiny. And because it's so small and compact, it could just go everywhere with me. It went into the pubs, it went into restaurants, it went into museums, it went on tours. You name it, no one questioned it. Because it's so small and looks like such a little point and shoot, even though it cranks out like top of the pops full frame results, this thing was able to go everywhere with me. Plus, it's so light, I didn't mind having it hanging off my shoulder in a tiny little, 2-liter Peak Design sling. Besides its portability, it's got a rad macro feature. I had a bunch of fun with that. I think the lens on here might be one of the best lenses available for the Sony system. It's sharp where it needs to be, maybe not so much in the corners, but has very much character and excellent rendering. I think the video coming out of this lens also is just like quite gorgeous. At least in terms of fixed lens, portable cameras. It has class leading autofocus. It's wicked fast. The operation with the dials on here, although I wish there was a front dial, is very fast, just like other Sony cameras. And because this is such a fast camera, I spin the back dial to switch ISO. I spin this top dial here to change shutter speed, like so fast. I've gone from, slow to fast shutter speed. It's so easy to get good results with this camera. It performs well in low light. Autofocus is so quick. It's by far the fastest autofocus of any of these fixed lens cameras. Q2, Ricoh, GFX, 100 RF, all of them, that you get way more shots. And then the shots look freaking fantastic. I really, really like this camera. I might even love it. It is going to be my daily driver going forward. Mostly, the reason I'm choosing this as my everyday carry camera is that when I went back and looked at the pictures, I loved the results. I got some really, really great photos. It was this picture of the dog, and then this picture of this woman in like a cafe, where I was like, wow, I think Sony has really improved its color science, or maybe I figured out how to work with it more. The S Cinetone Picture Profile 11 has really nice skin tones now. There's tons of ways to play with color that people don't talk about in Sony cameras, so I'll probably dig deeper into that. I tried, there's a website with film simulations, didn't love those. Commend the effort, but it just didn't work for me. I kind of want something straight out of camera that works. And Picture Profile 11, pretty darn good. I think that Sony has improved its colors from like the A1 to this guy. I tried the A1, if you saw that video, pretty recently, and one of the reasons I didn't keep it is that I wasn't jazzed about the colors. And I tried those picture profiles, so I don't know if I missed a trick or something, or I think what's happening is that Sony tweaked their color science, in particular skin tones, took some orange and red, out of skin tones, and it looks a lot better on this camera. The film simulation, like the film look, creative profile is also kind of neat. It's definitely trying to go for that Fujifilm, sort of like desaturated, lower contrast look to mimic film. But yeah, just totally shocked by how much I liked the colors and the image quality out of this. In fact, I liked it so much that I bought Sony's next camera that was released after this, the FX2, because I want to know if the colors are as good as in this. Like, did they also put the new, better colors in this? And I think this is just a rad camera. I did wait to see what Canon and Nikon were going to release, the CR50 or the C50. No, I'm sorry, the Canon C50 and the Nikon ZR. And, there's some features, open gate in the Canon. There's definitely some features in like the Lumix cameras that this doesn't have. But overall, if this has that nice Cinetone color look, this has almost everything I could want except open gate. And I have a feeling Sony's going to come out with an open gate, either firmware update or camera pretty soon. And honestly, I just don't use it that much. Like, there's ways to deliver vertical content without open gate. And I believe this has anamorphic desqueeze. That's the bigger thing for me. So anyways, I'm going to try this. More to come on this, leaning back into the Sony stuff a little bit. But that's not to say I didn't have issues with this camera. There's still some stuff I really, really don't like about this camera, okay? I think they're kind of the obvious things that everyone complains about. I wish it had 2 card slots, even if the second one was like a micro SD card, like the Nikon ZR and the ZF. Another issue I have is I wish there was a little joystick here. You've got to like either do this, tap, 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 or move it, or use your finger, and that's just not as accurate as a joystick. On a camera that's otherwise so fast, the joystick would make it like lightning fast. I wish the EVF was bigger. I actually, I'm pretty surprised. It's 2.36 dots, so manual focusing can be tricky in certain like lower light situations and super bright sunlight. It comes with this like eye cup thing. I took it off. I like it better without the eye cup, but some people might find that helpful. I didn't. I was surprised. I thought the eye cup was going to make it much better, like on the A1 too. But you don't need it, in my opinion. And it wasn't. Point is that maybe it's because it's such a small camera overall, the small form factor. The smaller EVF doesn't bother me. It could be higher resolution, but if it was just bigger, if they made a bump like the old Leica CL and made the viewfinder a little bit bigger, that would have been great. And then my biggest problem with this camera by far is the back screen. The resolution is just okay. The panel looks just okay. It's nothing like the ZR panel, but it doesn't flip up. Like the old version flipped up. I don't understand why this camera doesn't flip up. It would make this camera so much more perfect. It's got the 35mm lens on it that every fixed lens camera should have, in my opinion, It's got a cool aperture ring. It's super tiny. It's super fun to shoot. I love the leaf shutter in it, all this stuff. But then you have to like contort yourself into all these weird shapes to shoot with it because you can't flip the screen up and shoot from the hip. It's such a big miss. It's such a bummer. But again, everything else about this camera is so great. This is by far Sony's best camera, by far the most fun Sony camera to shoot that I've ever used. I overlook their kind of wonky software because it's such a fun little camera to shoot, and the results are so good that, some of its parts, it's great. If it just had a flippy screen, it might be, well, no. If it just had a flippy screen and a joystick, then it might be my perfect everyday carry camera. I'll say, and I'll make a whole separate video about this, I think, but I thought I was really going to miss the GFX100 RF. I really went back and forth about which one to take. I was only going to take one camera. And, for landscapes, the RF probably would have been better. But for everything else, this camera would have just been a little bit too big, a little bit too heavy, a little bit too conspicuous. I probably wouldn't have been able to bring it into pubs as easily, at least. So, I actually didn't miss it. And, my short review of this is the lens that Fuji on this camera ruins it. I'm not a landscape photographer. I want to use it for street photography and everyday carry stuff. And this isn't a good lens for that, especially in low light. It's a real bummer. It doesn't have character. The f4 is a real problem. And it doesn't do well in low light. Fuji's other medium format cameras at f4 let more light in, I think. Again, I'll make a whole other video about that. But the only things I actually ended up missing were A, the flip-up screen, and B, the joystick. That was it. Otherwise, I was totally happy with this. I was so jazzed with the results. And again, just impressed. So, is it a Halo product? Probably yes. And what is a Halo product? So a Halo product is something that isn't there to be the real flagship that's driving the revenue of a company or a product line, but instead to be the ultra cool item that people really lust after, associate that with the brand, then buy one of the lower end models. Another person says it's a product that raises perceived quality of the rest of the brand. Did it kind of work on me? Yeah, I went out and bought an FX2 today. As I was thinking about this to make this video, that's what I did. Canon and Nikon made their announcements for like the last quarter of the year here. I'm curious to see what Sony is announcing at Sony Kondo right now. Is it the A7 IV? I don't know. So, might be bringing me more back into the Sony system. I had started to dip my toe with the A1IIs. That wasn't it wasn't for me. It was a great camera. It just wasn't for me. This camera is for me. Like, people are like, who is this camera for? It's me. The RX1RIII is for me. So that's kind of it. I like it. I wish it had a flippy screen and a joystick. Otherwise, super, super great camera. Love the way this lens renders. Love the image quality. It's just great. It's a great camera. So if you're on the fence about this and you don't have an everyday carry camera, or you want that 61 megapixel, full frame goodness, or you're a Sony shooter and we're curious about this camera, I say go for it. I think you're going to love it like I do. So let me know your thoughts. Have you tried the RX1RIII? Did I miss anything? Are you curious about anything? Let me know your thoughts, questions, and comments in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, all good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.